Okay. Finally time for my initial ride. I don't want to get too rough in the woods. I have no skid plate yet. That'll be here tomorrow or Tuesday. So I'm going to go up in the woods here first, take a little ride, then maybe hit a little bit of blacktop here and see how I feel about things. The preload on the rear is right in the middle. I did not touch it from bringing it home from the dealer. At 220. And we're off. The clutch pull is very light. That is almost KTM hydraulic-esque clutch pull. Pretty good for a cable. I'm 5'10", and the seat to peg relationship, I can tell right now, is kind of like the CRF300L was. It's a little more cramped. I could use a tall seat for sure. Sitting down is definitely cramped. I have too much air in the tires, I can tell you that right now. Suspension is super mega soft. Power down low though is excellent. The first gear on this thing, I don't even think I'll need to change the sprocket. I'm so used to buying a front sprocket one tooth down, which I have one for this. I mean, WR, KLX, XT, I've had to go down one, but I'm telling you what, this one, I do not think I'm even going to use the sprocket. Boy, suspension is definitely soft. Wow, soft. I mean, substantially soft compared to, well, I don't want to compare it yet, but I'm comparing to the KLX. It is very soft. Rideable. But if you start getting nuts, but I'm telling you what, the bottom end power for what these bikes are, this bottom end is sweet. Foot pegs are wider than most pegs from the factory, so I like that. The one thing I will say, the stock bars, this bike already has aftermarket bars and risers. Stock bars for me, way too skinny, way too low. Tires, stock tires, terrible off-road. I already have the AMS bite on the front and the Dunlop EN91 on the rear, but I can tell you right now, I have them aired up way too much. I think they're both, I think the front one's probably around 20 and the rear one is, for what I remember when I mounted it, I think 15. And the rear brake pedal, it takes a lot. I even adjusted the pedal up in the air, even with the foot peg, for my initial ride when I brought it home, just up and down the street. And it takes a lot to push that pedal down and activate the brake. Ooh. Yeah, the gearing on this, first gear, you already have a stick problem down there, see it? wants to ride along. I know I got no skid plate, shouldn't be doing this. I do love the fact that it has a fuel gauge. That is excellent. I would definitely like a tall seat, that's for sure. The bike feels very, very slim and nimble. I mean, I missed my turn there. Gotta be careful. These trails are grown up, and man, that grass, you never know what's hiding in there, just ready to take you out. Baby head rocks, slimy sticks. Yeah, I think I'm even gonna have to adjust that. I adjusted that rear brake pedal up, geez, probably 1/4 of an inch, and I think I still need to come up. It's just almost like there's so much throw to it to get the back brake activated. Pretty rocky trail. I mean, going slow, the suspension is actually, it's so plush when you're riding slow, even on these hard hits and these bumps. It's actually pretty comfortable, but if you were blitzing, you'd be blowing this right through this suspension, that's for sure. Biggest thing for me right now is I got to adjust that rear brake. Get it up even higher because it's such a long throw to get it to activate. Whoa, there's a slimy one right there. Just about sent me down, you prick. I have a spring coming for from Race Tech for a 235 to 265 pound weight. So that should help me out dramatically, and I also have the Race Tech front fork spring coming too, so. But motor wise, I am very pleasantly surprised. The bottom end on it, and definitely the fact that I don't even think I'm going to have to change the front sprocket. I mean, I changed front sprocket on damn near every bike I've ever had. This is a rocky prick. Oh, come on, get going. Slimy, wet, rocky bastard. You see, like that right there is gnarly as it was. The soft suspension actually did well on that. Put my mirror down, my double take. Jeez. Freaking untrimmed trails. God dang. Yeah, I could definitely use a taller seat to give me some more space between the seat and the pegs. That is probably my biggest complaint right now, actually. I mean, of course, the suspension is soft, but comfort-wise, I would definitely like more space with the seat to peg relationship. This almost feels like an XT250. Yeah, see, like they're pulling the front end up. That was awesome. I still got to get it out. I'm going to run it here and kind of see what the top speed is. Then I will maybe decide if I want to change the front sprocket, but holy cow. Going down to the front sprocket or adding a tooth or two to the back would probably give this thing awesome grunt. I mean, keep in mind, I'm not thrashing the throttle either, because we're only at 3 miles. And also, you probably can't see it, but there is a gear indicator, second gear. That is awesome. Plus, you also can see the RPMs. Pretty sweet. And like I said, I'm just going budget suspension on this, and we'll see how that performs. But I'm telling you, if you put some good suspension on it, if you took it somewhere and got the shocks worked and a high-end rear shock replacement, this bike would be sweet. No doubt in my mind. It's tough for me. I don't want to talk about comparing it to the KLX yet, because it's my initial ride. I mean, we will get to that, but I would like to. I know it's not fair to wait until I get the suspension springs on this to compare to the KLX, but everybody already knows that that's the one downfall between the two, is the KLX. You can ride it out of the box. All I've done is a couple clicker adjustments on the KLX, and I've ridden it hard and fast, and I have no complaints on the suspension on that bike. I mean, any ordinary, average trail rider, experienced rider, fast rider should be fine with that suspension. I mean, unless you're launching off of 4-foot high jumps and landing flat, you should not have to change the KLX suspension unless you're a heavyweight dude or gal, and that would cause you to need to change it. But even this suspension, for what I just done right now, it's working just fine. It's just, you can feel it's super soft. But if you're only ever going to do stuff like this, and you're 205 pounds, 220 with gear in that area, you probably wouldn't even need to change, other than maybe you could turn the preload up. These tires I have way too much air in these tires for going down this big pebbly trail. Might see me eat doo-doo. Still, stuff like this, the suspension is good for this, but if you want to get a little nuts, it is way too soft. Alright, it's a dual sport, so here we go. Heading down the road. The engine on this is probably basically as noisy as other bikes in the class. Probably gonna get some wind noise through my GoPro. Seems to have a little less vibration than other bikes. Green ones. Trying not to compare it yet. Okay, see what we can do here. Fifth gear. Fifth gear is going up to 7,055 mile an hour. Remember, we're not ringing it out. Sixth gear is long. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me good or not in the wind noise, but I was doing 64 right there, 64 miles per hour in sixth gear, and I was about 7,500 RPMs. But sixth gear is definitely not going to be a hill climber. It's definitely like an overdrive gear, and I'm not going to rev fifth out high RPMs, being I'm still breaking it in. definitely need it in fifth for a long slope like this. It's doing much better pulling, you know, 56, 57. I can actually accelerate up this hill with a pretty good strong headwind coming right into me. After ride thoughts on my first actual on-off road little scoot. Of course, I said stock tires, they suck. They're already been replaced. Suspension, very, very soft. It does suck, I'm gonna say, but if you are somebody that was gonna ride it like I just rode it and never do anything harder, that suspension will be perfectly fine for you, but it is very soft, very plush. Motor, super smooth on the highway, low vibration, very smooth, awesome low end compared to the KLX. I don't want to do a comparison yet, but awesome low end. Probably not even going to change the gearing. The only reason I would maybe change the gearing, smaller front or larger rear, is 6th gear is very gutless, but you could wind it out, you know, very high on the highway so you weren't high RPMs cruising along. But changing the gearing would allow that a little better grunt up top, even though it's going to lower your top speed. So I may consider doing that. We'll see. Stock bars for me way too low, too skinny, so I put a wider bar on with 2-inch risers, and there's the 2-inch risers are fine with the cables. I had to do no lengthening or moving around, anything like that. You can see the front fender. I have a video of that, but I did change that out. I don't like the way the front fender is like shaped like this from the factory. I like a nice curved one like that. So I did swap that out. Shifting, very smooth. Upshifting is smooth, and even when you're kind of gliding to a stop at a stop sign, it's not notchy and clunky or like where you got to really jam on it. It went in effortlessly. That's pretty awesome. And the one thing I said when I was riding this brake, I have already adjusted this up. It was probably a 1/4 inch lower, and it was way too low to get, but it still has a lot of throw till the brakes activate. So I'm probably still going to adjust this up higher yet to have a good feel, especially when you're standing up. And the brakes are definitely a little lackluster. I mean, it ain't like you hit the brake and the back tire skids instantly. You got to really hog on it to get them to lock up. So there could be a little bit of improvement, you know, done there. But it's a budget bike, so what do you expect? And the peg to seat, the peg to crotch relationship for me is a little tight. I almost feel like I'm riding, like I said, like an XT 250 or something. But on my 250L, I put a high seat on there, and it solved that problem for me. So that's an option that I could possibly think about. So we'll just have to see. We will do a comparison. I will be getting the KLX out and doing some side-by-side stuff, especially in the woods. And I will kind of talk about both of them too, the pros and cons of both of them in some upcoming videos. And we still got a bunch to do to this. I have suspension coming, skid plate, probably seat cover. I got front blinkers yet to put on it. I did the back already. That's in the first video. or I have a video coming of that, one of the first ones I'm going to put up. Stock foot pegs, they're actually really good. They are as wide as the IMS pegs that I put on all my other bikes, so those I'm going to let alone also. That's pretty good, but I like the bike. I mean, with suspension tuned in, it'll be a sweet bike. So we're going to go ahead and do some more work to it, and stay tuned, like, subscribe, get on your bike and get outside. See ya.